Narration of the book titled Good. This is the epic tale of a young man named Jack. Jack just might turn out to be the greatest hero the world has ever known. If you asked him, he would say that he wasn't a hero at all, just an ordinary person with some extraordinary training. There's no way of telling how things will turn out. That part just might be up to you. Chapter 1: The Extraordinary Education of Jack. The title of this book is good, but it could have also been titled Jack's Education, by Plan and by Purpose. Jack was born in the northeastern United States around the turn of the century. Jack is a boy, but his story would be just as compelling if Jack were a girl, as in Jacqueline. According to the stories he was told, before Jack was born, his parents' lives were much different. Jack's father was a country boy who went to college for engineering, science, and math. While attending college, he met Jack's mother, a city girl studying biology, chemistry, and psychology. They fell in love and married while still in school. After they both graduated, they set out to build a life together and pursue their careers. They both had many interesting stories to tell about those younger years, and at one point or another, they both spent time as college professors. Apparently, Jack's parents struggled to conceive a child and had pretty much given up on the idea. They had discussed adoption occasionally, but it never came to be. They remained childless until Jack came along as a surprise when Jack's mother was 39 and his father was 41. Pregnancy must have been quite a shock to both of Jack's parents because they went through major life changes in the 9 months it takes to finish creating a child. They purchased an old farmstead way out in the country, and they both quit their jobs in order to relocate and raise Jack. Jack never saw his parents get up early and rush off to work. He spent most every day with both his parents on the homestead as they scurried about, enjoying life, doing chores, and teaching him. His father had started his own business just after Jack was born. Back when his father was a teacher, he had worked summers as a landscaper and also as a gardener. In his business, Jack's father combined both of those trades and helped his customers landscape their properties to produce food crops. Jack remembers his father referring to what he did as freedom gardening or sustenance landscaping. Jack's father seemed to operate his business at his own leisure, only taking on jobs occasionally to meet a specific financial need or to achieve a specific goal. Moving to the country was all part of a plan his parents had formulated to try and give Jack the ultimate education and to properly prepare him to enjoy a wonderful life. He was homeschooled, of course, and he never did go on to attend college like both of his parents did. All these stories seem like ancient history to Jack because they all happened before he was born and long before any of his earliest childhood memories. By all accounts, Jack led a fairly sheltered life. He never had television or the internet, and he never really had to deal with bullies. Chapter 2: Early Childhood Development. Before we start explaining Jack's extraordinary education, we are going to jump ahead to Jack's first term paper, which was about human behavior. Jack drew a flow chart that helped him visualize and explain all human behavior. Later in life, Jack will use his flowchart to dissect and explain all manner of human behavior. For now, let's just focus on the box in the middle labeled Belief Storage. When Jack was born, his belief storage was completely empty. This was true for Jack and is equally true for all creatures at birth. From the evilest villain to the saintliest hero, we are all equally devoid of beliefs and programming at birth. Shortly after being born, Jack started collecting what his mother always referred to as dots of information. She said later in life, all anyone will ever be able to do is connect the dots that they have collected. The earliest dots were of his mother, of course. They were simple and pure. He learned to recognize her face, her scent, the sound of her voice, and the taste of her milk. Jack's reasoning had little to work with at that time, but it was all good. Like all animals in nature at this stage, life itself for Jack was good. He owed nothing to anybody, and nobody owed anything to him. Everything he needed was provided by his natural environment. His state of mind was that of tranquility, peace, love, and wonder. He knew nothing of fear, anxiety, resentment, or hate. Jack's empty belief storage started to fill in with more and more dots. He began using his reasoning skills. As Jack would experience new information or new dots, he would instantly compare them to all his previously acquired dots in his store of beliefs. As new dots mix with old dots, new hybrid dots are formed that we could call conclusions. At this early stage, his conclusions were simple and basic. Mom and Dad were great, milk was wonderful, and loud noises were scary. He also was not fond of the feeling he got when his father would throw him up into the air and catch him. His father seemed to enjoy it, so Jack learned to smile and sometimes laugh in response to this unpleasant experience. As Jack progressed through infancy, he collected more and more dots by observing his parents. His mom and dad could do all kinds of wonderful things, and Jack would attempt to copy them. Progress was frustratingly slow at first as he experimented with control of his physical movements. His beliefs dictated his behaviors, and his repeated behaviors developed into new skills. He learned to reach out and grasp things with his hands. He learned to roll over and crawl, and later on he even learned to walk. He also learned a really cool trick. Anytime he was lonely or bored, he could just cry, and his parents would come running to comfort and entertain him. Life was good. As Jack matured, he mastered walking and running. He also learned to speak and understand words. Over the next few years, Jack collected hundreds of new dots, formed many new conclusions, practiced a variety of behaviors, and mastered a nice collection of new skills. As he progressed from milk to solid food, Jack's parents taught him how to pick and eat food right out of the garden. His dad was the outdoorsy type and showed Jack how to forage for food in the wilderness. Some of Jack's fondest childhood memories were of the adventures he would go on with his dad. They would set off in the woods behind their farm with nothing but the clothes on their back. They would be gone for 2 or 3 days at a time and only eat wilderness plants and construct primitive shelters. By age 7, Jack could have survived on his own in the wilderness if he were to ever become lost or separated from his parents. Chapter 3: Jack's Primary Education Begins. Around that same time period, Jack's official education began. His parents' plan was pretty simple. They would control and guard his information carefully and help him with his reasoning. This would help him develop good beliefs, behaviors, and habits that would hopefully aid him in experiencing wonderful results in all areas of life. Jack's father was all about math and science, logic and reason, critical thinking, and problem solving. After Jack learned reading, writing, and basic mathematics, his father often told him that these three skills could unlock all human knowledge. His father explained to him that collecting facts was less important than understanding critical thinking. His ability to seek understanding would always be more helpful to him than just collecting data. The human ability to store data is somewhat limited, around 1 gig. The human ability to seek understanding, on the other hand, was unlimited. After learning to write, Jack's mother required that he started a daily journal. She wanted him to develop the habit of recording his daily experiences and all the conclusions that he formed. Jack's education would follow the rhythm of the seasons. In the fall, after harvesting and preserving their winter store of food, Jack's parents would choose and explain the major focus of his upcoming semester. Every semester, he would have a different theme and focus of study. Throughout the school year, all his separate subjects would have a united theme. Reading, writing, grammar, math, science, and history would all pertain to the focus subject. Jack's parents owned an extensive collection of books for him to learn from. His mother also liked to visit the used bookstore and often brought home interesting selections. They would also visit the local library whenever they went to town, and Jack was constantly returning and checking out new books. His father had a strict policy against fantasy fiction and had no tolerance for magic or the occult. Most of the books Jack ever read were either nonfiction or fictional tales about real life possibilities. His dad was very much into the creative imagination, but he wanted Jack's imagination to be filled with possibility dots, not fantasy dots. Throughout the semester, Jack would study, take notes, and journal about the subject matter and dominant focus of that semester. Each semester would culminate in a finale that included a comprehensive essay and an oral presentation. Essays were to be neatly typed with proper spelling and grammar. In his youth, he was allowed to borrow verbiage from other authors, but as he matured, he was urged to write his own words from his own store of beliefs and his own creative imagination. Each essay was to include math, science, and history, along with Jack's conclusions, some artwork, and a summary including any creative ideas that he had. The remainder of this book is a collection of Jack's essay presentations in the following order: human behavior, natural laws, diet and food, water, shelter, reproductive relationships, money and human energy, goal setting and achievement, slavery, government structure, secret societies, human spirit, and education. Chapter 4: Jack's essay on human behavior. To understand human behavior, it helps to have a visual reference. We all think in pictures, and most of us don't have a clear picture of behavior or the workings of the mind. When asked to picture the mind, many people will picture the brain, but the brain is an organ, the mind is an activity. This is a picture of the workings of the mind. A thorough study of this flowchart will reveal and explain all human behavior. The dotted line represents the conscious mind, incoming information divided by dominant focus, and then reasoning. Below the dotted line represents the subconscious mind, belief storage, behavior response, habits, and then results in all areas of life. The mind and the subconscious are always working together to help us choose the most beneficial behaviors and responses that will keep us alive and safe and hopefully give us desired results. The conscious mind acts as the navigator and the trainer. The subconscious acts as a student, the recorder, and the consultant. As we mature, the subconscious also takes on the role of the bodyguard, protecting us as we navigate life's challenges. Assume that all of our choices are made by our conscious minds. Come to find out, we all have a silent partner that greatly affects our every move, thought, behavior, and response. Unknowingly, we consult with our subconscious on every choice or decision we make. Feedback loop seen between reasoning and belief storage. Our reasoning happens in the conscious mind, but relies on information that is recorded and stored in the subconscious mind. When we are born, our belief storage is empty. This is equally true for all creatures, including all humans. From the evilest villain to the saintliest hero, we are all equally unprogrammed at birth. Shortly after being born, we start collecting dots of information. Our earliest dots are usually about our mothers. They are simple and pure. We learn to recognize her face, her scent, the sound of her voice, and the taste of her milk. As our empty belief storage starts to fill in with more and more dots, we begin using our reasoning skills. As we experience new information or new dots, we instantly compare them to all of our previously acquired dots in our store of beliefs. As new dots mix with old dots, new hybrid dots are formed we can call conclusions. As we progress through infancy, we collect more and more dots, usually by observing our parents. Our parents can do all kinds of wonderful things, and we attempt to copy them. Progress is frustratingly slow at first as we experiment with control over our physical movements. Our beliefs dictate our behaviors, and our repeated behavior develops into new skills. Our progress in skill development is an automatic feedback loop. As we experiment and try, we experience our own results. We then consciously and subconsciously adjust our behavior for the next try. Consciously learning new skills is always awkward, slow, and uncomfortable at any stage. Once new behavior is practiced into skill and habit, it is firmly programmed into the subconscious mind. At that point, programmed behavior can happen subconsciously with very little input from the conscious mind. Most of our daily movements are pre-programmed responses stored in the subconscious and only directed by the conscious. Sit, stand, walk, and run are conscious commands carried out by subconscious programs. This same flowchart not only explains behavior in humans, but also explains behavior in all animals, domesticated or wild. This diagram is the survival mechanism that comes built into every animal at birth. The sole purpose of this mechanism is to keep you alive and safe. Your subconscious mind is your bodyguard, and it keeps you alive by repeating behaviors that didn't get you killed or injured in the past. You program your bodyguard with the information that you take in and the conclusions that you choose to accept. The conscious mind is the navigator and the trainer. The subconscious is the student, the recorder, and the consultant. In the beginning stages of life, the conscious trainer is dominant and in control. As we mature, the subconscious bodyguard becomes more and more dominant. The subconscious mind enforces programmed behavior with response hormones. When we choose to repeat practice behavior, we are rewarded with dopamine. This hormone makes us feel good about our choices. If we choose to ignore practice behavior or choose unpracticed behavior, we are corrected with cortisol. Cortisol is very unpleasant, and we naturally avoid those choices. Response hormones are very powerful. We become chemically addicted to the choices that make us feel good, and we feel agitated when those choices are denied. This is called choice addiction. If our initial experiences caused an adrenaline rush, the choice addiction is even more powerful. Adrenaline mixed with dopamine gives us over the top pleasure. Adrenaline mixed with cortisol gives us over the top anxiety and fear. Once firmly programmed into the subconscious, our choice addiction will control behavior for the rest of our lives unless purposely reprogrammed. Reprogramming choice addiction or changing our habits looks easy enough on paper, but most people find it to be quite difficult. When most of us try to change our habits, we apply self-discipline directly to our behavior. Unfortunately, behavior and habits are controlled subconsciously and are very resistant to change. We often beat ourselves up and feel guilty when we fail to overcome choice addiction. To change habits at the bottom of the flowchart, we must change beliefs stored in the middle by changing information coming in at the top. By purposely flooding our conscious minds with better information, we will reprogram our beliefs, and then our behaviors and habits will change automatically on their own. Adrenaline and repetition will accelerate change. The more emotional and exciting the new incoming information is, the faster and more permanent the change. Repetition is key because at first our subconscious will reject any ideas that conflict with our programming. Repetition forces our subconscious to accept that these new ideas are real and permanent. Slowly, we will accept and adapt to new information, new reasoning, new beliefs, behaviors, and finally, new habits. To purposely effect change to our habits, we must apply self-discipline to the information we study instead of our behavior directly. Change requires focus. Distraction is the opposite of focus. If we are constantly distracted, there is little chance that we will ever change our beliefs, behaviors, habits, and results. Jack's conclusions. The flowchart represents a survival mechanism that is built into every animal. It diagrams the workings of the mind. This self-adapting mechanism continually updates throughout the life of every animal. As each animal matures, it gets wiser and safer. This automatic system works flawlessly for all wilderness creatures because it adapts to all natural threats. This natural mechanism can malfunction in humans because humans can tell and believe lies. A lie is a man-made idea that no natural creature has to deal with. The subconscious store of beliefs is not designed to deal with lies. It only collects dots. It does not differentiate true dots from false dots. Once the conscious mind accepts a false idea, the subconscious simply records it for later use. Brainwashing is a technique where bad guys flood a person's information with lies. The conscious mind might resist at first, but repetition and high emotional content prove to be effective. Brainwashing is used to change beliefs, behaviors, habits, and results. If bad guys ever controlled education, media, or entertainment, they could brainwash millions of people all at the same time. Jack's summary. We should teach this flowchart in schools so children understand how their beliefs and behaviors affect their results. That way, when they become adults, they will understand their own results and recognize brainwashing when they hear it. They will also know how to change any bad habit, study new information, question everything, redefine and redesign beliefs, increase new improved behavior, decrease old unwanted behavior, practice, rest, and repeat. All behavior is habit forming, and all habits are chemically addictive. We become dependent on the addiction, and we all become slaves to our habits. If we have good information, we will have good beliefs that will dictate good behavior, habits, and results. Bad information will produce bad results. Information and behavior should be carefully guarded by the individual, the parent, and the school system. Chapter 5, Jack's essay on natural laws. Natural laws are not created by lawyers or argued about in courtrooms. Natural laws just are. Like the laws of physics and the laws of gravity, natural laws just are, and all creatures must deal with them. Whether we like it or not, all creatures are subject to the laws of nature. While every species must navigate the laws of nature, only humans articulate and talk about them. Some of these natural laws seem cold and harsh. Maybe they are, but by studying them, we prepare for life instead of being surprised by it. Any person could think of and list these natural laws. To do so, you must imagine that these ideas are true for all creatures and for all time. They must be true for the man and the woman, the bird and the bear, the rabbit and the deer, and for the lion and the gazelle. These concepts are true now. They were true thousands of years ago, and they will be true at any time in the future. The following list is organized from the simplest ideas to the most complex. Gravity can kill you. All creatures have an instinctive fear of falling, and all creatures will instinctively run to avoid falling objects. Even the bird who appears to have mastered gravity can still be killed by it. Loud noises often mean danger. The natural world has an easy listening kind of soundtrack. The sounds of the birds in the air and the wind in the trees is soothing and relaxing. All animals in nature take notice when they hear noises that are louder than normal. Sound diminishes with distance, so loudness implies proximity. Proximity might mean predators, so all creatures take notice. Fierce weather can also be dangerous and is often loud. Even in the loud hustle and bustle of the city, humans will take notice of sounds that are louder than normal. Predators want to kill you. Some animals are predators, and all animals are potential prey. When the gazelle is running away from the lion, it does not need to wonder why the lion is chasing it. Humans are lucky because we are pretty much at the top of the food chain. In certain circumstances, wilderness predators will prey on humans, but for the most part, the only predators humans need to worry about is other humans. While most humans are harmless, some think and behave as predators. You are on your own. No other animal cares as much about your survival as you. Survival is an individual motivation. All animals in nature can survive on their own. Some predators use teamwork to hunt more efficiently. Some prey animals use teamwork to enhance security. In both instances, however, the individual animal has the ability to survive on their own. All animals will take notice when another animal is being pursued or attacked, but that is mostly for their own security. In humans, we naturally care about other people, but our major focus is on our own needs and those of our immediate nuclear family. Your survival depends on food, water, shelter, security, and defense. These are the essentials for life on planet Earth. Food and water are self-explanatory. Shelter implies shelter from the storm. Some animals dig burrows or build nests. Some simply hide under or behind natural cover to shelter from the storm. Security for most animals is just a matter of paying attention to their surroundings and looking out for predators. Sight, hearing, and sense of smell are all used for security in nature. Defense is for when security fails. All creatures avoid confrontation whenever possible, but when threatened with capture or killing, they will all fight for freedom and survival. Survival essentials are your responsibility and yours alone. If you do not acquire them, you will perish. For any animal to survive, it must continually acquire the essentials to life. All wilderness creatures do that for themselves. If they are captured, enslaved, or domesticated, they will be dependent on their masters for survival essentials. Once a domesticated animal becomes dependent on its master for essentials, it often loses the ability to fend for itself. If you can't find essentials or there are too many predators, change your location. All animals will travel in search of food, water, and shelter. They will also avoid areas where they have encountered predators. Sometimes that means completely relocating when predators move in or when essentials become scarce. Some humans will relocate in search of safer and more abundant locations, but history shows that most humans will stay put no matter how bad things get. You will instinctively want to mate. Find a healthy mate and protect your young from predators. Procreation is essential for the survival of any species. It is driven by instincts and by hormones. Animals are more attracted to healthy mates than unhealthy ones. This is called natural selection. It ensures that healthy genetic information is being passed on. All creatures have different ways of protecting their young until they are mature enough to protect themselves. Everything that you need to survive and thrive is available in your natural environment. It only makes sense that requirements for survival are available to all creatures in nature. Domesticated animals may struggle to find food in the wilderness, and if relocated to harsher climates, they may not survive on their own. Whatever you acquire or collect from living is yours to keep if you can keep it. Food items and shelter locations are free for the taking in nature. Once an animal puts energy into collecting food or securing shelter, it becomes their property. It is theirs to keep and enjoy. If some other animal comes along and steals food or takes over shelter, the first animal loses out. You can survive only if you have the ability and the will to do so. Rights are irrelevant. Rights are a man-made idea that refer to legal rights in a contract situation. Rights do not exist in nature. The lion has the ability to chase the gazelle, and the gazelle has the will to run away. But there is no right to food or safety for either one of them. There are no rights in nature, only ability and will. The more experience you get, the wiser and safer you become. This is because all creatures are born with a survival mechanism that continually adapts and improves as they navigate life. Young, inexperienced animals are at the greatest risk. Older ones have become wiser and therefore safer. This survival mechanism is so advanced in humans that it can be harnessed as a weapon and used against us. Jack's conclusions. The laws of nature are logical and self-evident to all creatures. They may not think of or talk about these natural laws, but all creatures abide by them. In humans, sometimes bad guys convince good people that they are weak and helpless. They also convince them that they are entitled to receive help from other people. When good people don't get the essentials that they have been promised, they can become angry and agitated. Jack's summary. If bad guys are allowed to teach good people that they are weak and helpless, it may cripple and handicap the good people forever. We should teach people that they are strong and capable so they can enjoy a good life too. Children should learn the laws of nature so they will recognize when someone is lying to them about life. Chapter 6. Jack's essay on diet and food. Jack's parents recognized that they were 20 years older than average parents, and they might not always be there for Jack. They needed him to be capable and confident in case anything should ever happen to them. The next few semesters were all about the essentials to life and how to acquire them. Diet and food. This report covers what could be called the freedom diet because it will keep you free from almost all diseases. It will keep you free from doctors, hospitals, and expensive medication. It will keep you free from excessive weight gain and obesity. If you knew where to look, the foods in this diet would be free for the taking in nature. Research material for this essay comes from many doctors, scientists, botanists, herbalists, and alternative medicine practitioners. The diet plan laid out before you is easy to follow, easy to understand, and enjoyable to eat. While this nutritional philosophy is not new, it is also not widely taught because there is no profit in teaching people how to cure their own disease. Unfortunately, this eating style is contrary to what most Americans are used to. Most of us are navigating life with misleading information. Sometimes people mislead you on purpose. We could call that a lie or a conspiracy. Sometimes people mislead you by accident. We would just call that a mistake. Mankind has made many nutritional mistakes over time by applying our genius and creativity to our otherwise natural diet. Many of these mistakes have become time-honored traditions, deeply ingrained in our culture, beliefs, and habits. So while this diet is easy to comprehend, it is not always easy to stick to. If you can make this diet your daily default eating plan and only go off track occasionally, you should do fine. What is perfect health and what causes disease? Modern medicine has given names and descriptions to over 12,000 different diseases that are all caused by one problem: poor diet. Here are some definitions. Ease is the perfect state of health where all cells and systems are functioning properly. Disease, or disease, is when cells and systems are malfunctioning because of deficiency, toxicity, or injury. The smallest living entity of our being is the individual cell. The human body has trillions of them. Every cell has a nucleus with DNA that produces instructions for cell function in the form of proteins. Each cell requires tools in the form of nutrients to perform its function. Nutrients come from food and are supplied to the cells by the blood. Blood is like the kitchen. All cellular functions produce waste. Waste is taken away by the lymph system. If blood is the kitchen, then lymph is the bathroom. If your blood chemistry is lacking nutrients or full of toxins, your cells will malfunction. If your lymph system backs up, your cellular fluids will become toxic and your cells will malfunction. Unfortunately, as tasty as the American diet can be, it is most often lacking in nutrients and overloaded with toxins. All creatures in nature acquire the vital nutrients they need for perfect cell function with a natural diet. They consume what is available to them in nature. This is called their species-specific diet. The same is true for humans, except we have invented and applied many man-made ideas to our diets. To rediscover mankind's species-specific diet, you simply need to eliminate any man-made ideas. Imagine being shipwrecked on a tropical island, alone, with no tools or man-made inventions. What would you eat? A daily diet of raw fruit, berries, vegetables, nuts, and seeds will provide your body with all the vital nutrients needed for perfect cell function. These foods are enjoyable to the human palate and readily available in our natural habitat. They are naturally high in nutrients and low in calories, so they don't induce overeating. Overeating is often induced by our craving for nutrients, not calories. These tasty foods are packed with vitamins, minerals, enzymes, amino acids, hormones, phytonutrients, and biophotons. These are the tools your cells need to function, repair, and replicate. Many people disagree on the subject of eating meat for protein. Humans do have the ability to eat and digest meat, but doing so appears to be a backup plan. Humans are not instinctively well suited for killing like most predators are. We aren't naturally attracted to the taste of raw flesh and blood. Our digestive tracts are a bit too long for digested meats. Most carnivores have very short and highly acidic digestive systems. In humans, raw fruits and vegetables are digested and eliminated in 12 to 16 hours. Meat can take up to 3 days to eliminate. Decaying meat can attract, support, and encourage intestinal parasites. Our bodies do not use animal protein directly. Our bodies break down protein into amino acids. We then build our own protein using those amino acids. Those same essential amino acids are available in raw fruits, berries, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Breaking down every possible food item into nutrients and toxins is an effective way to gain understanding of healthy dietary choices. However, it is tedious and unnecessary. The easiest way to understand a naturally healthy diet is to avoid man-made ideas and seek natural truths. Natural truths. Before our ancestors mastered fire on a universal scale, and before they mastered mass farming of grains, our ancestors thrived on raw fruits, berries, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Unnatural man-made ideas. These time-honored eating traditions destroy nutrients and introduce unnecessary toxins to your food supply and to your blood chemistry. These creative mistakes have been passed down from generation to generation for thousands of years. They are the oldest of mankind's inventions that promote disease. The invention of weapons and tools for the killing and processing of large quantities of meat. Cooking our foods, destroying vital nutrients, and creating toxins by altering the chemical state of food. Eating processed sugar of any kind, including honey. Honey has medicinal properties, but is not a natural human food source. Grains eaten as bread, flour, or cereal because they immediately break down into sugar and overload the sugar regulation system. Milk and dairy from non-human sources. Consuming of milk past weaning is not natural to any known creature. Here are some more recent ideas that are straight up toxic to your blood chemistry. Chemical additives for flavor, color, and texture. Commercial processing and preservatives. Pesticides and herbicides. Genetically modified organisms. Hormones, antibiotics, and GMOs fed to commercial meat animals. Dangerous chemicals in personal care products and cleaning supplies. Fluoride in toothpaste. Fluoride and chlorine in drinking and bathing water. Over-the-counter drugs including fever reducers, pain relievers, and antacids. Antibiotics that kill healthy gut bacteria, damaging your ability to properly absorb nutrients. Pharmaceuticals that are toxic to the blood and only work by interrupting a natural cell function or by inducing an unnatural one. Common inoculations and flu shots that are ineffective, unnecessary, and full of scary, toxic additives, preservatives, and carriers. All of these man-made ideas create a toxic environment that makes normal cell function impossible. When the cell environment is toxic, the cells are in a state of dis-ease. The body adapts and responds in unpleasant ways that we call illness. What we call illness is really a natural response to an unnatural, toxic diet. This toxic load and lack of nutrients causes chronic toxicity. The body and cells adapt to toxicity by sending out defensive instructions. These defensive adaptations can cause unpleasant symptoms. Over time, the body goes through various stages of disease. Enervation. Resources are diverted from energy production to damage control. We feel easily run down and tired. Irritation. Our tissue is flooded with water to thin and flush out toxins. Water presses against nerves and joints, causing discomfort. Inflammation. Blood, oxygen, and nutrients are rushed to affected areas. We experience redness, heat, and pain. Ulceration. External skin or internal digestive tract tissue ulcerates to expel toxins from cell environment. Induration. Cells surround themselves with a protective coating or shield. We experience the thickening, hardening, and stiffening of tissue. Fungation. At this level of toxicity, normal cells either die off in large numbers or in one last desperate attempt for survival, cells switch over to anaerobic respiration without oxygen. If toxicity continues, cell fungation spreads in this last adaptation we call cancer. At any stage along the way, we can correct these problems by eating foods that are high in nutrients and low in toxins. Give your cells what they need with every bite. Guard your blood chemistry with every meal, and your body will heal and return to a state of ease where all cells function properly. Germs, bacteria, viruses, and pathogens. Bacteria and viruses are everywhere, on everything, all the time. They are natural, unavoidable, and necessary for life. Most are helpful, a few are harmful. You have an immune system that readily defends against and eliminates pathogens as long as it is not starved for nutrients or overburdened with toxins. Sick people attract illness, healthy people do not. Jack's conclusions. A species-specific diet from nature includes raw fruit, vegetables, berries, nuts, and seeds. It excludes man-made inventions. This is the freedom diet, free in nature, free from man-made ideas, and free from disease. The standard American diet keeps us dependent on a man-made food supply, which gives us man-made diseases. This keeps us dependent on toxic man-made medicine, and we develop man-made side effects. This is a downward spiral that leads to misery and early death. Jack's summary. Everyone should understand what causes disease and how to prevent it. We should teach all children how to grow fruit, vegetables, berries, nuts, and seeds in their own backyard. Chapter 7. Jack's essay on water. Water is essential to life for all creatures. After weaning off milk, most animals drink water exclusively. Humans can only survive 3 or 4 days without it. There are approximately 1 million species on planet Earth other than humans. All natural creatures get essential water from rain, streams, rivers, and ponds. All creatures thrive on these water supplies, and so do humans. Unfortunately, we humans have adopted so many man-made ideas into our belief systems that most of our daily water intake comes from coffee, soft drinks, and beer. When we do drink water, it must come from a tap or a plastic bottle. In history, water has been used as a manipulation tool in both tyranny and warfare. If you control a population's water, you control life itself. Hitler was reported to have experimented with fluoride in water because it made prisoners docile. Chlorine added to drinking water has been linked to cancer. The most independent wilderness creatures drink from streams, rivers, and ponds. The most independent man-made idea is to dig your own well. History shows that independent humans all around the globe have dug their own wells. Almost anywhere on planet Earth, there is a filtered, clean water supply 15 to 30 feet below the surface. An excavator is nice, but a well can be dug almost anywhere with a shovel and some hard work. Cave-ins are dangerous, so mankind has invented many methods for avoiding them. A T-handled corkscrew-type post hole digger can be used to drill into the water table in just a few hours. Its threaded pipe handle can be added onto indefinitely. 6-inch pipe can be installed with electric or hand pumps. Modern ideas and building codes have all but eliminated the traditional dug well. Most home builders' only choices are to deep drill into hard water sources costing thousands of dollars or hook up to municipal water supplies containing fluoride and chlorine. Many lending institutions will not mortgage a home with a dug well. This is for their protection, not yours. Jack's conclusions. The more control a person has over their own water supply, the more independent they are. Jack's summary. Everyone should be taught how to dig their own well. If you can't find a place to dig a well, maybe you should consider changing your location. Chapter 8. Jack's essay on shelter. Shelter from the storm is a basic essential for many creatures in nature. Apparently, some of our human ancestors liked the cave idea, and modern humans have turned the cave into literal castles. Our modern day homes are spacious, comfortable, and expensive. Not only are they expensive to build and buy, but they are also expensive to own and operate. Modern day utilities have made us and our homes dependent on man-made ideas. At one time, utilities were added to independent homes as a novelty. As novelty evolved into necessity, modern day homes and their owners are often 100% dependent on utilities for survival. Early American homes were often humble and small. Over the last 100 years, our homes have become status symbols that imitate the mansions of the rich and famous or the castles of royalty. We need to remember that castles and mansions were often built and maintained by slaves and servants. The Freedom Home is fairly inexpensive to build, own, and operate. It needs no heat, no air conditioning, and no electricity. All of these things can be added as novelties, but they are not necessary for survival. The Freedom Home is fireproof, stormproof, and if properly situated, nearly invasion-proof. To understand the Freedom Home, you only need to study natural creatures and then the science of thermodynamics. In New England, extreme temperatures can range from 100 degrees in the summer to 20 below zero in the winter. In the wilderness, many natural creatures go underground to deal with temperature extremes. From the frozen tundra to the blazing deserts, underground is a good place to find shelter for many animals. Thermodynamics states that temperature is always trying to find balance. If it is 20 below outside your home, then your house is always trying to get to 20 below zero. The same is true if it's 100 degrees outside. Even the highest rated insulated home is still trying to find balance with outside temperatures. Wherever you travel on planet Earth, underground temperature stays around 56 degrees Fahrenheit. Caverns, caves, and burrows are always trying to stay around 56 degrees. Animals that seek shelter underground have figured that out. Apparently, many of our distant ancestors did as well. The earthworm home takes its cues from the cavern and the cave. Earthworm homes are usually constructed with insulated concrete that stores solar heat during the day and releases it at night. They typically have a southern exposure with thermal glass that lets in solar energy. Extra daytime heat can also be stored in concrete floors and then manipulated for comfort. The heat that is stored in tons of concrete will last for days during inclement weather. Even during the worst of conditions, the earthworm home is trying to get back to 56 degrees. Another concept is called the thermal envelope. As heat escapes a traditional above-ground home, it instantly blows away. As heat escapes an underground home, it heats up the surrounding soil. Concrete and stonework can all be done by the independent individual. Concrete has been around for thousands of years, and anyone can learn to work with it. The Freedom Home is inexpensive to build, but it is not free. Gravel and stone can often be acquired for free, but Portland cement, insulation, and thermal glass will cost money. Once built, though, the Freedom Home will heat and cool itself for thousands of years with very little maintenance. Earthworm homes may get their roots from caverns and caves, but the modern earthworm is anything but primitive. They can be finished and furnished to be as beautiful and luxurious as any other modern home. Jack's conclusions. Many modern-day home designs are expensive to build and buy, and they require lots of energy to own and operate. They can make us slaves to a mortgage and dependent on utilities. The earth-berm home design can create freedom and independence. Jack's summary. Everyone should be taught about the mathematical advantages of earth-berm home design. Children could easily learn to play around with concrete and form up their own ideas. Chapter 9. Jack's essay on reproductive relationships. Jack did not go to public schools and never had sisters, so he never spent much time around girls. Some of his parents' friends had daughters, and Jack enjoyed playing with them whenever they visited. Most of Jack's understanding about relationships came from observing his parents. Jack would imagine his parents in their youth. He saw his father as a strong, handsome prince, and his mother as a beautiful princess. This was partly due to Jack's vivid imagination, and partly due to a speech habit that his parents practiced. Jack remembers fondly that when his mom would ask his dad to do a favor, his dad would grasp her hand, bow a little, and say, "Whatever you desire, my queen." When Dad asked Mom for a favor, she would curtsy and say, "Whatever you need, my king." Jack understood that his parents were not royalty, of course, but he admired that they often treated each other as such. Around the age 13, Jack started to notice the delicate beauty of the girls he had often played football with when he was just a boy. Jack's parents noticed that he was noticing. Reproductive relationships. All animals in nature have reproductive relationships. Some animals, like deer, only mate on a yearly basis when the females go into estrus. Other animals, like rabbits, can mate and give birth every 30 days. Some animals pair up and mate for life, and others mate up rather randomly. When studying which species mate for life and which ones do it randomly, you will notice that no species does both. Our history shows that humans mate for life. In real life, it doesn't always work out that way, but that has more to do with man-made ideas from society than from human nature itself. The hardest thing about studying humans is separating who mankind is from who he pretends to be. All creatures in nature live a natural life that is unchanging through time. Year after year, generation after generation, the birds, the rabbits, and the deer live in nature the way they always have. Humans, on the other hand, live lives away from nature in a production we call society. This production is ever changing and is vastly different from one generation to the next. We all call this progress and just accept it as life unfolds. We all play our parts and follow the scripts we are given without ever realizing that it's all just a production. Real truth is steadfast. If something is said to be true today that was not true 20 years ago, it is not truth at all. It is production. It is not that man-made ideas and inventions are not real in the physical sense. They are. Just like props on a movie set that are physically real. They are just not real to ordinary life. For a million other species, ordinary life on planet Earth involves the laws of nature and the built-in survival mechanism that exist in all creatures. Those two things are unchanging. All other parts of human life that we experience in society are made up, man-made ideas. They can change week to week, year to year, and generation to generation. Attraction, romance, and the nuclear family are naturally occurring parts of all human history. Social attitudes about sexual relations are ever changing. To find truth in the middle of an ever changing production, we simply need to look at science, math, and human history. When studying animals in nature, a mathematical pattern becomes evident. Lifespan is approximately 6 times the age of physical maturity. Independent survival is possible at 1/3, and reproduction is possible at 2/3. In humans, physical maturity, no longer growing taller, is around 18 years. That would put lifespan around 108, independent survival at 6 or 7, and puberty around 12 to 13. Puberty is triggered by the pineal gland and changes in melatonin levels. This sets off a cascade of hormonal changes that ushers in sexual development. From this point forward, sexual attraction and potential reproduction is imminent. What we call attraction in humans has four main components: physical attraction, emotional attraction, intellectual attraction, and spiritual attraction. Any man and woman can become attracted to one another with time and proximity. Historically, parents have carefully guarded who their adolescent children spend time with. As far as courting or dating is concerned, parents are typically interested in the emotional, intellectual, and spiritual development of their children's prospective mates. As proximity continues and attraction grows, sexual desire increases. In many cultures, young men and women choose a mate and get married while still in their teens. When the marriage is consummated, there are chemical changes that happen to the psyche that could be called imprinting. This imprinting is one of the most powerful bonds known to mankind. It is strong and everlasting and resists being broken. To break this bond causes great injury to the emotions and the spirit. Heartache and heartbreak are chemical and psychological realities. Like all human injuries, heartbreak will heal and often leave behind scarring. New love can be found, but emotional scarring remains. Jack's conclusions. Human sexuality is powerful and pleasurable. Some people say that sexual relations are the most pleasurable experience a human can have, other than the pleasure of holding a beloved child for the first time. Historically, people involved in the committed married relationship and the nuclear family get the most enjoyment and stability out of life. Modern-day scientific studies show that couples married as virgins have the most satisfying sexual relationships. Jack's summary. Dating and courting should be carefully monitored by parents. Children should be taught the benefits of marriage and the risk of promiscuity. Maybe teenage boys and girls should go to separate schools. Chapter 10. Jack's essay on money and human energy. When Jack turned 14, his parents helped him acquire a small piece of raw land. His father said that 14 was the start of adulthood. His parents had hoped to give Jack a piece of land outright, but their late restart in life and various other struggles prevented it. His parents helped him with a down payment, and Jack was to pay off the remainder with monthly installments to the landowner. This owner-financed arrangement included reasonable interest but involved no banks. Jack felt like a grown-up by acquiring his own piece of land. It was 9 miles from home, and he could ride his bike there whenever he wanted. Out in the country, raw land is still fairly affordable. Jack could handle the payment with a part-time job and get it all paid off in 5 years. For the first year or so, Jack worked with his father in his father's sustenance landscaping business. His father taught him how to focus on the task at hand and how to do his work with a sense of urgency. His father also gave him some landscaping ideas for his own property. In the very first year, Jack planted fruit and nut trees and a few other perennial food crops. His father didn't want Jack to become dependent on the family business. He urged Jack to find other part-time jobs to help broaden his experience base. He told Jack to always seek more than just money with any job he took. He should always be on the lookout for valuable skill development and various business experiences. Over the next few years, Jack took on apprentice-type jobs with a rock mason, an electrician, and a plumber. Money and human energy. Money is a man-made concept, of course, that no other creature on Earth deals with. Money represents a conversion of human energy. Plants convert sunlight into an energy molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Humans do not utilize ATP from plants. We process nutrients by eating plants and then create our own ATP. Inside every animal cell, there are little generators called mitochondria. With the help of various nutrients, mitochondria combine oxygen from the blood with sugar or fat to create ATP. ATP goes on to be the catalyst for all cellular function. In essence, ATP is human energy. Brain cells and muscle cells require the most ATP, and both have high concentrations of mitochondria compared to other cells and tissue. Getting through the day for animals requires vast amounts of ATP for muscular and cognitive functions. ATP levels are directly related to the nutrient density of food and to the relative health of the individual. In the human world, we convert our human energy into wealth. Potential wealth is directly related to individual health and cellular energy. In all animals, food is processed into ATP, and then the animal invests that energy or wealth into acquiring more food, water, shelter, security, and defense, essentials for life. It is a glorious cycle. When humans invest their daily energy into acquiring essentials, they profit directly from that investment. When we work and accumulate essentials from nature, we are accumulating wealth. We can also trade the essentials we have collected with other humans. This is called bartering. Bartering relies on the perceived value of goods and services. Bartering can sometimes become cumbersome, so humans invented currency. Currency is a conversion of human energy that can be weighed, measured, and traded. Originally, currency took the form of consumable essentials. Common food items such as grain, figs, dates, and nuts have all been used as currencies in human history. More recently, gold, silver, and then coins and cash have replaced consumable currencies. Humans have no actual use for these things except as a means for trade. We know that other humans will trade us essentials to life for gold, silver, coins, and cash. When we work for someone else, we are selling our human energy at wholesale so that our employer can sell it at retail and turn a profit. This arrangement benefits both parties. When we are self-employed, we provide valuable goods and services to other people, and they give us some of their wealth in return. Again, this arrangement benefits both parties. Jack's conclusions. Human health is directly related to potential wealth. We should guard our nutrient intake carefully and avoid toxins that make us sick and divert energy production. As we accumulate wealth, we should carefully invest it in ways that secure essentials and create future security. Jack's summary. Money does not flow from rich people or the government. It flows to them from people who work, produce, or innovate. Bad guys can purposely distort the perceived value of non-consumable currencies with inflation and deflation. Currencies that are consumable hold their value over time. Electricity could be used as a consumable currency. Electricity can be measured in amp hours or watt hours and will always remain steadfast. Coins and cash are fine, but they could be valued against the amp hour for everlasting stability. Chapter 11, Jack's essay on goal setting and achievement. Many books have been written about goal setting. Authors often portray goal setting as a magical, mystical thing. Further study reveals that goal setting is not magical, but rather mathematical, and while it is not mystical, it is very powerful. Goal setting involves focusing on a specific goal with the conscious mind in order to enlist the processing power of the subconscious. The conscious mind processes information in a serial stream, one thought at a time. The subconscious processes parallel streams of information, multiple processes happening all at once. By consciously choosing a specific goal as our dominant focus, the subconscious latches onto that goal and actively works towards its achievement. This is all part of the survival mechanism born into every animal. In nature, during a crisis, an animal might have dangerous challenges to overcome. The subconscious part of the mind zeroes in on these challenges and continues to juggle dots until a solution is found. While the conscious mind must shut down during sleep, the subconscious never sleeps and never stops seeking solutions to our most pressing problems. The subconscious does not know or care about the type of challenge. It only knows its directive and the level of emotion attached to it. In nature, this conscious-subconscious relationship is designed for evading predators, avoiding starvation, and securing a mate. The term goal setting is a man-made idea for hacking this system to achieve any goal and realize any dream. The steps to goal setting and achievement are simple and easy for anyone to master. Step 1. Imagine and visualize a possible future to work toward that you believe in. This first step has three subtle but major components: imagination, possibilities, and belief. We will only use imagination when we are bored or not preoccupied. We will only imagine possibilities that we believe in, and we will only believe in possibilities that we feel confident in achieving. To say that anything is possible is presumptuous. To say that you can achieve anything that any other human ever has is a mathematical surety. Imagination, possibilities, and belief all come from our training. Step 2. Break down believable dreams into achievable goals. This next step again requires the imagination. If you are visualizing a future that does not yet exist, then you must imagine a pathway that leads to that future. Sometimes we get hung up on solving every problem and overcoming every challenge before we even get started. Overcoming any challenge comes later. What we need here is a roadmap. Imagine what steps A through Z might be, and then get started. Step 3. Break down goals into a workable plan of action. A goal is a benchmark in your journey. They usually won't change. A plan is a list of items that go on your to-do list for today, tomorrow, this week, or next month. As you attempt to follow a plan, you will often encounter challenges that you did not expect or plan for. While this might feel like failure, it is not. It is training. Lick your wounds, adjust your plans, and refocus your energy. Step 4. Relentlessly work your plans with purpose and focus. Many times we work really hard with no actual purpose. The secret to goal setting is to focus our human energy on a plan with a purpose. Never be afraid to work ridiculously hard on your own dreams, goals, and plans because nobody else is ever going to. Step 5. Overcome challenges as you encounter them. This is where many of us get frustrated and give up. Challenges are just part of achieving anything worthwhile. Overcoming challenges is a mathematical formula. Identify the challenge, do research to collect additional dots, redefine the challenge, and then redesign your plan. Repeat this cycle over and over to overcome any challenge and achieve any goal. After a while, you will gain confidence in this cycle and realize that you can overcome everything and achieve anything that you believe in. Step 6. Rest when you are weary and refocus on the dream when you are frustrated. Fatigue can eat away at our resolve, and frustration can dampen our spirit. When we become overwhelmed, it is often because we become too entangled in the work and the challenges. Sometimes we need to take a break, step back, clear our heads, and visualize the dream. Our motivation comes from the dream, so we must consciously remind our subconscious why we are doing all of this frustrating work. These 6 steps, when repeated over and over, have never failed to produce extraordinary results. Jack's conclusions. Goal setting can be taught, practiced, and perfected. The greatest impediments to achievement are distractions and diversions. Our creative imagination does not function when we are distracted or our focus is diverted. Many people become choice addicted to entertainment whenever they are bored. This can become an unfortunate handicap. Other times, our focus is so diverted by day-to-day activities that we never take the time to imagine a better possible future. Often we limit ourselves by connecting the dots of past failures instead of imagining the dots of future possibilities. Jack's summary. There are many man-made ideas that can aid us in navigating this natural process. Having your dreams, goals, and plans written down so you can review them every day is an effective way to stay motivated. Reading them aloud involves multiple senses, which stimulates subconscious adoption. A daily to-do list helps us remember details, focus our energy, and invest it more efficiently. Calendars, schedules, budgets, checklists, and meal planning help us to stay on track. Chapter 12, Jack's essay on slavery. Slavery in one form or another has been part of human history long before mankind's written word. Slavery is a man-made invention that overcomes the challenge of accomplishing goals that require large amounts of human energy or labor. Slavery has two components and three categories. The two components are human energy and dependency. The three categories are hard slavery, soft slavery, and volunteer slavery. Hard slavery is the category that most people are familiar with. African slaves in American history were in hard slavery. At first glance, it appears that slave owners were getting free labor from slaves. This is not accurate. For the slave owner, slavery is a business model. The slave master invests in buying slaves and then must maintain his investment by providing food, water, shelter, security, and defense to the slaves. The slaves are dependent on the essentials provided by the master, and the master is dependent on human energy provided by the slaves. The slave master hopes to show a profit from his investment. This arrangement requires no money or currency. Survival essentials and labor are the only currencies involved. Hard slavery takes place against the will of the slave, of course, and is maintained by force, the threat of force, and often violence. Volunteer slavery is on the other end of the scale. Volunteer slavery is when a person willingly agrees to trade human energy to accomplish a goal. Volunteer slavery is commonly perceived as being temporary. The person involved is not considered a slave, yet they are temporarily dependent on the arrangement to provide essentials or some other payoff. Debt is a form of volunteer slavery where a person promises future energy for immediate goal achievement. Once the debt is paid, the arrangement is over. A traditional job could also be looked at as volunteer slavery. Temporarily, the employee agrees to sell their human energy at wholesale in exchange for currency or cash. The employer hopes to show a profit from this arrangement. The employee hopes to purchase essentials or save up wealth to invest in their own enterprise. Choice addiction can sometimes be seen as volunteer slavery, where we temporarily choose to be dependent on a product or service when we know that we could live without it if we needed to. Coffee is a good example. The greatest risk of volunteer slavery is that it can slip into and become soft slavery, the most wretched and devious slavery of all. In hard slavery, human energy is stolen against the will of the slave. In soft slavery, human energy is stolen without the knowledge or understanding of the slave. This is done through deceit, taxes, debt, fees, fines, permits, regulations, and war. Soft slavery is a legalized skimming operation. Just because it is legal does not make it any less wretched. Hard slavery was also completely legal in its time. Money is simply a conversion of human energy. When money is stolen or skimmed, it is human lifeblood energy that is being taken. When the super wealthy of today accumulate mass wealth, it's either from providing valuable goods and services or from lying, cheating, stealing, and killing. The end result is no different than in hard slavery itself. From kindergarten to college, we are trained to struggle in soft slavery, and we never know it. We are trained to work for the wealthy, but never become wealthy ourselves. We are trained to become addicted to foods that poison our blood. When we become sick, we are given expensive drugs that make us sicker and unable to enjoy life. We are trained to excel at one trade and then be dependent on all others. We are dependent slaves to utilities and never-ending bills. We are encouraged to go into lifelong debt for homes, cars, vacations, and consumer trinkets. Our preferred lifestyle of the nuclear family is attacked and decimated by plan and by purpose. As we go round and round in life, chasing our tails, our human energy is being constantly skimmed by deceit, taxes, debt, fees, fines, permits, regulations, and war. We are told and we believe that all of this is for our own protection, but it is not. It is to ensure that soft slavery continues generation after generation. We argue about politics in hopes that the next group will give us better slave conditions than the last group did. It's a never-ending cycle of slavery that only gets worse as each new generation becomes more dependent, more addicted, and weaker than the last. Jack's conclusions. History shows us that this problem cannot be fixed with politics, and it cannot be solved with war. Only when masses of people wake up and unite will we have the chance to overcome soft slavery and regain freedom. Hopefully we do that before soft slavery reverts back into hard slavery. Then it may be too late. Jack's summary. Children should be taught to recognize dependency and slavery and how to avoid them so that everyone can be independent and free. Chapter 13. Jack's essay on government structure. Most people are not trained to think about and design their own government structure. Most of us are taught about the structure we are born into, and we are educated about other governments around the world. We assume that our structure is best, and we are trained how to best navigate its authority. When we study the million other species inhabiting planet Earth, we learn that authority itself is a man-made concept. No other creature accepts authority from any other creature unless they are enslaved or domesticated. In fact, all creatures on Earth live in a state of total anarchy. Anarchy is a word that we are taught to imagine as terrible and deadly, something to be feared. Again, when we look at a million other creatures that live in anarchy, they appear to be okay with it. There are predators to be leery of for sure, but that could also be said of mankind's society production. Animals in nature live in a state of absolute freedom and peace, with no authority. Authority is a man-made concept that does not really exist. What we call authority is either compliance, the threat of force, or violence. We make up rules and then force them or enforce them on others. To imagine what government is or could be, we must first imagine life without it. The English poet John Donne wrote that no man is an island. To imagine government, we need to reverse that and say that every man is an island. If you lived alone in the wilderness with no other humans around, you would live in anarchy with no laws, like all other wilderness creatures. The only laws the natural creatures must navigate are the laws of nature. In order to survive, all creatures must acquire food, water, shelter, security, and defense. The man or woman that does that on their own is an island unto themselves. When a man and woman marry and become one, they are an island unto themselves. When they have children, that nuclear family becomes an island unto itself. When a family claims a piece of property and improves that property, the people and the property become one, an island unto themselves, separate from the world. The family and the property can provide food, water, shelter, security, and defense. History shows that the only challenge that the nuclear family cannot overcome is when they are attacked by a force that is greater than their ability to defend against. Usually, this means groups of humans that have us outnumbered or outgunned. Society or government is born when two or more families align in agreement to defend and protect each other's freedom and property. This is government. It is an agreement. They do not agree to feed and house each other. They only agree to protect and defend each other's freedom and property if those things ever come under attack. As communities evolve into towns and cities, they become islands unto themselves, separate from the world, self-contained, and self-sufficient. Towns and cities unite and become counties, states, and then countries, islands unto themselves with one agreement to defend and protect each other's freedom and property. Laws and rules are agreed upon, and local taxes can be raised to pay for local projects. Even at this level, we all have free will. There is no authority that controls behavior. There is only compliance, the threat of force, or violence. Throughout our history, powerful humans have convinced billions of people to relinquish responsibility and bow to authority that simply does not exist. Jack's conclusions. Unless we live alone in the wilderness, most humans do not desire anarchy. Throughout human history, whenever mankind creates government to ensure security and defense, it has always devolved into tyranny and slavery. Jack's summary. Government should be formed by regular people and run by regular people instead of lawyers and politicians. Chapter 14. Jack's essay on secret societies. At the age of 17, Jack had made great progress on his freedom home and his freedom garden. He still had more work to do, but he was proud of what he had accomplished so far and was excited about his dreams, goals, and plans. Jack had started dating and had gone out with three nice girls. One in particular consumed most of his thoughts. Her name was Macy. Jack thought that Macy was simply beautiful. Her blonde hair, blue eyes, and warm smile never failed to melt his heart. Macy was a year younger than Jack and lived in the town bordering his own. She was intelligent and bold with a heart of gold. She was raised with a Christian background, much different than Jack's. While they didn't always agree on the supernatural stuff, they were often surprised at how Jack's logic and reason aligned with the religious doctrine that Macy had grown up with. Macy's parents were fond of Jack, and Jack noticed that Macy's father often inquired about Jack's progress on his home and his garden. Jack had started working with his father again in the family business. Macy's father often asked him about that as well. Jack was in his last year of school. According to his parents, he had three subjects left to study: secret societies, human spirit, and public education. Secret societies. Like slavery, secret societies have been around since before man's written word. Starting with ancient wealth from royalty and banking, secret society members bribed and blackmailed their way into positions of authority and influence in all nations of the world. There have been many different secret societies throughout history. While they often appear to be in conflict with one another, their methods and intent remain the same. They all seek to enrich their members with profits from slavery and the accumulation of human energy. To better understand human history, we can separate ideas into three categories: natural truths, man made ideas, and secret society slavery. The first category includes the laws of nature and the flowchart of human behavior. We can use the acronym Glorious, Original, Organic Design, or GOOD for the first category. The second category is man-made ideas, concepts, knowledge, and inventions, or Mickey. For the third category of secret society members, we use the acronym Slavers, Aristocrats, Tyrants, Assassins, and Necromancers, or Satan. At one time, mankind lived in the good category, alongside a million other natural creatures. Mankind's most extraordinary talent is his ability to invent. We have the ability to imagine a future that does not yet exist, set goals, and then work towards those goals. No other creature has that ability that we know of. We are one in a million. You are one in a million. Our ideas and inventions from the Mickey category are usually created to help overcome the challenges of life. While they appear to make life easier, they often carry unintended consequences. They often make us weak, dependent, and less capable. Food from the good category keeps us healthy, while food from the Mickey category creates toxicity and disease. Food is just one example of man-made ideas that cause unintended misery. Somewhere along the way, some people invented slavery as a way to get things done. Humans often revolt against slavery, so secret societies were invented to secure control. Satan uses ideas from the Mickey category to enslave mankind. New ideas that create independence and freedom are corrupted or destroyed. Ideas that create dependency and weakness are encouraged and invested in. Satan uses lies to separate people from good. By plan and by purpose, they convince us that we can't survive or enjoy life without the pleasures and conveniences of the Mickey category. We become so dependent and addicted to these invented ideas that we will do almost anything to have and maintain them. The whole purpose of this arrangement is to get you to go around and around, converting your human energy into currency and then spending it all with them. Day after day, year after year, generation after generation, spinning our wheels, trying to get ahead so we can have more stuff. Satan encourages us to invest in expensive education so we make better slaves and earn more money to spend with them. All political parties have been infiltrated and are now controlled by secret society members. Their loyalty to the societies and their members is stronger than any other loyalties, including community, country, and even humanity itself. All political policy is influenced by members of Satan. It is all designed to squeeze human energy from the masses. Taxes, debt, fees, fines, permits, and regulations all benefit the secret society members of Satan instead of the public. War is another favorite tactic of Satan. All throughout history, politicians and royalty send our fathers and sons off to war to benefit the members of Satan and to reset or restructure society. The ultimate goal of Satan is global control of all resources and all human energy. Secret society members now control all commerce, currency, trade, education, media, and entertainment. While they purposely hide the secrets to goal setting and brainwashing from the masses, they are experts at it themselves. They carefully control all education, media, and entertainment, and thereby control all information, beliefs, behavior, habits, and results for all of society. Because they are the rich and the famous, they convince us to want to be like them, even if we must lie, cheat, and steal to do it. They also convince us that ordinary people can't be trusted because they all must lie, cheat, and steal. Even those among us that try to live good lives are lost in the world of Mickey. Many people are invited to join and become members of secret societies without realizing the absolute evil at their core. To better understand how it all works, it helps to visualize a wagon wheel. This wheel represents all the people in the world and also all the knowledge and information that exists. The white area on the outside represents billions of ordinary people. The black area on the inside represents the dark, evil core of Satan. While most of us on the outside communicate with truth on a daily basis, Satan only communicates with lies, even to its own members. As plans and agendas are passed down from person to person, they are lied about at every stage. By the time information reaches us, it has been whitewashed and sterilized for our consumption. Ideas that are designed to create weakness and dependency are portrayed as ways to help the poor and unfortunate. When people on the outside are invited to join a secret society, they think they are joining a benevolent organization. They are told that the association they are joining will help them with valuable business or social connections, and together they will work towards the betterment of society. As new members prove they are willing to lie, cheat, and steal to get ahead, they are moved up through various degrees of membership. Only as they near the dark center do they realize the evil intent of their secret society membership. Many people in the gray area are simply ambitious or greedy. They are still unaware of the full extent of evil. Satan has been doing this for thousands of years. They are very good at masking their intentions, even from their own members. The 12 spokes could also represent areas of life that Satan uses to control and enslave mankind. Food, water, housing, medicine, education, media, entertainment, money, technology, politics, authority, and war. Our beliefs regarding these 12 areas of life are given to us by plan and by purpose. We become choice addicted to these beliefs and can't survive without them. These concepts from the Mickey category are also used to divide us and cause us to fight amongst ourselves. Satan must keep us divided because it makes us weak. There are billions of good, ordinary people on the outside and only a few million secret society members on the inside. Good outnumbers evil 1,000 to 1, and Satan knows it. If the good could ever wake up and unite, evil would not stand a chance. Satan keeps us divided and convinces us that ordinary humans just like us are dangerous and stupid and not to be trusted. We are so firmly chained and enslaved to these man-made concepts that escape appears impossible. When one of us ordinary people realizes what is truly going on, the future appears dark and hopeless. The members of Satan have such a rigid hold on everything that they control the very direction and progress of mankind's society. Their goals are purely evil, they never grow weary, and they never give up. Satan's power lies in the weakness of the collective. Our only hope lies in the strength of the individual. To escape from this reality, we simply need to study and practice what is good. We must be cautious and leery of the world of Mickey, and we must disconnect and reject Satan. You as an individual cannot help save the world unless you save yourself and your family first. There are a million other species out here with us that thrive and are unaffected by Satan's control. Any ordinary individual can reject these ideas and learn to thrive without Satan's food, water, housing, medicine, education, media, entertainment, money, technology, politics, authority, and war. If you do this, you will discover that Satan has no power, no control, and no influence over your life. Food, water, shelter, security, defense, and family are natural truths that are abundant for all to enjoy. Money is just a conversion of our human energy. It has been converted into the root of all slavery. Your human energy does not come from rich people. It is not provided by the government. It comes from you. It is you, only you, in your glorious original design. Jack's conclusions. The more we seek understanding and reveal truth, the more we can embrace independence and enjoy freedom. Jack's summary. We must learn to master the things that we control and learn to navigate the things we can't. Come to find out, we control everything that we need to thrive and enjoy a wonderful life. Food, water, shelter, security, defense, and family are abundant in nature. We simply need to discard the production that is society and seek them out. Chapter 15, Jack's essay on human spirit. The word spirit often makes us think of spirituality and then of religion. Further study reveals that the human spirit has been discussed, debated, and written about all throughout history. It often has little to do with organized religion. For example, Ayurvedic medicine from India references the mind, body, and spirit. The general idea is to nourish and not poison the mind, the body, or the spirit. Three separate parts, intimately linked to represent the whole being. To nourish the spirit, we must avoid poisoning the mind and the body. In today's world, we are told that we should think globally and care for the collective. There are a million other species here with us on planet Earth, and not one of them thinks globally or invests their energy into the global collective. All animals on Earth think personally and act individually, including humans. Understanding the laws of nature is for your personal benefit. Your survival mechanism is designed to protect you, the individual. Our conscious and subconscious minds are focused on our own personal results 99% of the time. We all have a general love of humanity, but our dominant focus is always on our own well-being. This is not up for debate, it is a scientific reality. You control your conscious thoughts and the information that you choose to accept. You control the behaviors you choose to practice and the lifelong habits you develop. You manifest your own results in all areas of life, whether you believe in or understand that reality. All natural born creatures have the free will to go where they choose and do whatever they want. There is no authority that controls behavior other than the laws of nature themselves. Zero. Some people use this logic to justify any and all behavior. This is a dangerous notion that denies natural truths and is often made popular by the members of Satan. Mathematically speaking, all beliefs and behaviors are habit forming, and they manifest all of our results. So it benefits the individual to study, train, practice, and perfect the best possible behaviors in order to enjoy the best possible results. It's a mathematical formula. Good information leads to good beliefs that dictate good behavior, forming good habits that produce good results. Unfortunately, most of our information is controlled by Satan, so we get filled with slave information and experience slave results. Here are some examples of personal choices that produce disastrous habits and lead to horrific results. Lying creates distrust and diminishes credibility. Stealing will eventually get you killed by other humans. Cheating creates weakness on your part and distrust in others. Unhealthy food creates food addiction, obesity, and disease. Wasteful use of time, money, and energy creates poverty and misery. Promiscuity leads to loneliness and pain. Drugs and alcohol destroy happiness and limit potential. Entertainment addictions distract the mind and destroy creative imagination. Crude, rude, offensive behavior alienates others and isolates us. Distrust of other people creates fear. Being dependent on other people creates anxiety. To nourish our spirit, we must first understand who we really are, instead of what we've been trained to become. We are humans, planet Earth's most extraordinary example of life. We as individuals have the ability to imagine any possible future and then create it. Human DNA is 99% the same in all humans. The laws of nature are the same for all humans. The survival flowchart that directs behavior is the same in all humans. We are all equally unprogrammed at birth. We all want to be left alone to pursue wonderful lives and think about ourselves and our families most of the time. We are all the same. We are one. We are all carbon copies of our glorious original organic design. If a person can truly understand just how extraordinary they really are, and that everyone else on earth is one and the same, they can learn to love themselves and everyone else as well. They can forgive themselves and others and embrace the wonderful experience that is life on planet Earth. Every conscious thought that we entertain gets recorded by the subconscious and becomes part of who we are. Every emotional response or physical movement that we practice is training for who we will become. The personalities we develop are the behaviors that we practice day in and day out. Other people are not stupid or wicked. They are simply connecting the dots they have been given. That's all any of us can ever do. Jack's conclusions. The spirit is a reflection of self. Nourish your mind and your body and avoid toxicity, and your spirit will light the path for others. Jack's summary. Entertainment and culture try to convince us that destructive behavior is funny and favorable, when history, logic, and reason prove that the opposite is true. The most productive persona to practice will always be based on good beliefs. Good behavior and good manners will produce a good personality that nourishes the spirit of the individual and everyone they encounter. Chapter 16, Jack's essay on education. After studying human behavior, natural laws, and human history, education itself appears to be self-evident. Teach children how they work and then fill them with beneficial information. Teach them what behaviors to embrace and why they are beneficial. Teach them what behaviors to avoid and why those behaviors lead to slavery and suffering. Below is a list of 99 truths that should be discussed and debated by adults and then taught to and practiced by every child. These are not rules and laws to be enforced. They are the observations of mankind that should be memorized, explained, and understood. Every child should learn them, and every adult should understand them. What anyone ever decides to do with them will always have to be up to the individual. 99 truths. You are a child of creation and a member of the human race. Humans are the most extraordinary creation in all the animal kingdom. Your potential for greatness is equal to any person that has ever lived. You are capable of accomplishing anything that you're willing to study and work toward. Your destiny will be largely determined by your understanding of truth. There are many beliefs, behaviors, and skills that you can learn that will benefit your journey through life. Learn and master as many as you can. There exist many beliefs and behaviors that will destroy your happiness and limit your potential. Learn to avoid them at all costs and why. Children are very smart, but they lack vital experience. Listen to and obey your parents as they guide your progress and train you to succeed in life. Whatever behavior you practice, you become better at. Most people practice kind, generous, and helpful behavior. Some people lie, cheat, steal, and kill. Avoid them at all costs and do not practice those behaviors yourself. Misguided people will try to mislead you in your journey through life. Ignore them and focus your reasoning on self-evident truths. Many short-term pleasures lead to long-term misery. As a child, your job is to enjoy life while you train to become an independent adult. Someday you will be all grown up and chart your own course in life. You will be responsible for acquiring your own food, water, shelter, security, and defense. If you do not provide your own essentials, you will be in servitude to those that do. If you get stuck or frustrated in life, ask for guidance and advice, but be wary of handouts because they create dependency and weakness. Someday you will have the free will to go anywhere and do anything you choose. Choose carefully. Life has many pitfalls and dangers. Boys have penises and girls have vaginas. These are your private parts. Keep them to yourself until you get married. No grown-up should ever touch your private parts, except for a doctor when one of your parents is present. Physical intimacy and having children are the greatest of blessings for married grown-ups. Promiscuity erodes and dilutes these blessings and causes heartache, misery, and loneliness. When the time is right, seek out and choose a strong, healthy mate of good moral character. Consult your parents when choosing a mate. Study how things are made and seek to understand how they work. Learn and practice as many useful skills as you can. Building a home and growing food are skills that will always serve you well. Acquire and master a common trade at an early age. A common trade will provide work and income wherever you travel in life. Your common trade does not need to be your ultimate career choice, but it will always serve as backup during times of scarcity. When you work for someone else, perform your task with pride, integrity, and a sense of urgency. Always think of yourself as self-employed and seek to understand the laws of supply and demand and business ownership. In your business dealings, always provide valuable goods and services with character and integrity. Show a profit in all your labors and guard your cash flow for future investments. Avoid debt at all costs. Debt causes future dependency and limits freedom, potential, and opportunity. You are not responsible for other people's well-being, but you are free to help anyone you choose in any way you can. Be careful not to enable weakness and dependency in those that you help. Learn to fight so you can defend yourself and others, but avoid violence at all costs. Learn to use firearms in a safe and responsible manner. If you do something stupid with a firearm, you could end up dead or in prison. When you cross paths with another person, look them in the eyes to gauge their intent and smile or nod to indicate your own. Shake hands with firm yet gentle confidence. Always stand for what you believe in and never accept bullying by anyone. A small group of good people can always defeat one big bully. One good person can change the world for the better. Embrace your strength and defend the weak and the vulnerable. Forgive people for misguided beliefs, but never excuse bad behavior. Never allow lies to go unchallenged or to be taught to your children. Never argue with people who don't understand reason and truth. Never threaten another person or back them into a corner. Never purposely damage someone's pride or question their honor. It will force them to defend both with vigor. Never be afraid to speak the truth, but be prepared for resentment from those that embrace lies. When you make mistakes, you are learning and growing. Take responsibility, own your mistakes, seek guidance, and then adjust your behavior. Natural truths are instinctive, self-evident, and apply to all creatures. Society, on the other hand, is full of man-made ideas that can be useful if they are studied, practiced, and perfected. Governments are created by people to protect the freedoms and property of the individual, but not to provide essentials for the individual. That's what slave masters and tyrants do. Government defends freedom and opportunity. It does not create them. As free citizens, we select, hire, and give orders to public servants. We never take orders from them. You help select the services that government provides, and you pay for those services with taxes. You should never pay for services that are unwanted, unneeded, or forced down upon you. No one adult can control behavior in another, except through the application of force or by willful compliance. You have the freedom to experiment and fail in your pursuit of happiness. You have the freedom to work hard, chase your dreams and goals, conserve your profits, and invest your profits in any way you like. You have the freedom to acquire and improve property and defend your property with whatever means necessary. Money is a man-made idea that represents the lifeblood energy of human labor and ingenuity. Money does not come from rich people or the government. It is created by those that labor, produce, or innovate. As free citizens, we all create our own wealth. We only task those in government with printing and managing the currency that represents our wealth. The money you receive in exchange for your labor and ingenuity will be directly related to the perceived value of the goods and services that you provide and produce. Never go to war. If war comes to you, then fight it, but don't be lured into traveling to seek it. As you journey through life, always seek new information, valuable experiences, and creative ideas that will increase your opportunities. Avoid time-wasting habits like the constant need for entertainment, games, and social media. Drugs and alcohol will poison your mind, distract your focus, and dilute your potential for greatness. Diseases are not caused by bacteria, viruses, and family genetics. Almost all diseases are the result of malfunctioning cells caused by deficiency and toxicity. A healthy species-specific diet of raw fruits, vegetables, berries, nuts, and seeds will provide your body with all the essential nutrients needed for optimal health. Man-made ideas like concentrated sugars, grains and bread, milk and dairy, and too much meat consumption will cause obesity and illness. Your healthy blood supply is sacred. Avoid poisoning your blood with chemicals in processed food, personal care products, municipal drinking water, chemical medicine, and inoculations that contain known toxins. Whatever you practice, you become better at. Practice exercising your body in as many ways as possible. This will provide and preserve your strength, agility, and mobility as you mature and navigate all the wonderful challenges that await you. You live in a time period of widespread freedom and unlimited opportunity. This is a rare occurrence in human history. You also live in a time of great turmoil, where evil people are trying to destroy freedom and erase its understanding. Evil people spread lies and disinformation to change people's beliefs and behaviors. These lies cause people to become dependent and irresponsible. Many people will be fooled, and so could you. Question everything, do your own research, and guard your reasoning carefully. Freedom, independence, and truth will always need defending. Stand your ground, speak your mind, and defend what is right and true. Treat everyone you meet with love, kindness, respect, courtesy, and patience. Forgive others for their offenses, and forgive yourself for your own. Hate, resentment, anger, jealousy, fear, and guilt will poison your spirit and leave little room in your heart for love, kindness, forgiveness, and hope. Be humble and thankful for all your blessings, for they are the tools you will use to chase your dreams and accomplish your goals. Do not focus on things you do not have. They have no energy for you to utilize. Study cause and effect and practice critical thinking skills. Imagine that every challenge has a solution that you might not have recognized yet. Know that any dream that you hold in your heart, focus on with your mind, and work for with your body can become a reality. Believe in your dreams, believe in yourself, and believe in the proven power of goal setting. Visualize your dreams, identify clear-cut goals, create a plan of action, focus your energy, and then work your plan. Adjust your plans as life unfolds and be prepared to overcome many challenges along the way. Rest when you are weary, but never give up, and you will accomplish any goal and realize any dream. Your results will always be determined by your habits. Your habits come from repeated behavior, positive or negative. Your behavior is controlled by what you believe to be true and beneficial. What you believe is a combination of everything you've ever experienced and the conclusions, opinions, and philosophies you choose to accept. If you wish to change and improve your results, then you must change and improve the information that you study. The clothes you wear tell the world who you respect and whose opinion you value. If you dress like a criminal, a prostitute, or a bum, you will probably be treated as such. Jack's conclusions. Secret society members control all public policy in all public education. They feed children toxic information that produces predictable results. By plan and by purpose, we are all trained to be hardworking but dependent slaves. Jack's summary: the 99 truths will benefit children by providing them with the tools they need to build a wonderful life. They will also benefit society by producing strong, independent, self-determined adults. Chapter 17: Jack's After-School Activities. Jack finished his last essay and had a homeschool graduation. His parents threw a party afterwards, and many of the people Jack had known throughout his life attended. Macy was there, of course, and so were her parents. Everyone was proud of Jack, especially his parents. Jack had matured into a responsible young man. The day after his graduation party, Jack proposed to Macy. She said yes, and they rushed over to tell her parents. Macy's father was expecting this news because Jack had asked for his permission before he asked for Macy's hand. Macy was a year behind Jack in school, so they agreed to wait until she graduated to get married. The next year was filled with Jack and Macy planning a wedding with both their parents' help. Jack continued to work on his freedom home and garden while running his father's business. Jack had spent many nights at the building site over the years, but had never officially moved in. Jack didn't want Macy to move into his house. He wanted them to move in together as husband and wife and make it their home. Jack still lived at home with his parents while putting the finishing touches on his and Macy's future home. Jack and Macy were married shortly after Macy graduated. It was a beautiful spring wedding with lots of friends and relatives, and lots of laughing and dancing. They had decided to honeymoon at their new home, and Jack carried Macy over the threshold when they got there. When they consummated their marriage, Jack was immediately hooked for life. Macy felt the same way. Jack knew that he would spend the rest of his life loving Macy. He would live and die to please her, and he would kill to protect her if he ever had to. Macy asked Jack for a glass of water. He held her hand and bowed just a little. "Whatever you desire, my queen," he said with a smile. A week after their wedding, Macy's parents invited them over for lunch. After a pleasant meal, the young couple said their goodbyes and headed home. They were baffled to find a driveway full of cars when they got there. Jack's parents had planned a surprise housewarming party that was put into motion while they were having lunch with Macy's parents, who pulled in the driveway 2 minutes behind Jack and Macy. The party was good fun for all, as Jack showed everyone around their new home and the beautiful garden growing outside. Jack was very proud of all his hard work, and so was Macy. Chapter 18: Mysterious Meeting. After most people had gone home, Jack's father pulled him aside and asked him to go for a ride. His dad was quiet as they drove down familiar roads in his father's truck. They pulled into the abandoned lot where Leroy Johnson used to have his service station. The business had been shuttered for years, but Jack could remember his father stopping there a few times, even after it was closed. Jack was always asked to stay in the truck, and he always did. This time, he was invited to come in. They went in through the back door, and it took a few seconds for Jack's eyes to adjust to the dimly lit service bay. Sitting around a long table were 9 men. Some of them Jack knew well from around town. but a few of them Jack vaguely remembered seeing at his parents' house a time or two. Jack remembers one time when his father was showing some men where he kept his boxing stuff from his college days. Then he showed them some of the combinations that he still practiced. Jack was pretty sure that some of the men in this room that he didn't recognize well were at his house that day. All the men smiled pleasantly at Jack, and everyone shook his hand. After they all sat back down, Jack's father took the floor. He explained to Jack that they were all part of something called the Secret Society of Extraordinary Independence. Jack was shocked. He had studied secret societies in school and knew that none of them were good at the core. Jack's mind raced as he imagined his own father being tricked into joining some globalist secret society. His father assured him that they were not globalists. In fact, their little group was formed partly in response to globalist secret societies. Their secret society had no chain of command and no upper level degrees to aspire to. They had no agreement to lead, follow, obey, or fight. Their only agreement was to protect and defend each other's freedom and property if those things ever came under attack. They all had cell phones and each other's numbers, of course, but they also all had CB radios and scanners at home. A few of them had ham radios, and a few others said they were working on it. They had all been to each other's homes and knew various routes and approaches to take. They discussed and debated various topics like prepper food storage, safe rooms, and home defense. At first, Jack thought they were talking about commune kind of things. They quickly corrected him and pointed out that they were all fiercely independent and could take care of themselves and their own families just fine. Their only purpose was to share ideas about personal independence and then to have each other's backs if something really bad ever happened. Jack's father took the floor again and started explaining their structure. They didn't have any levels or degrees, and they didn't have any life or death secrecy oaths. They were simply 9 guys that his father knew that agreed to have each other's backs. They expanded their secret society with a 10 by 10 format. His father explained that he also belonged to another group of 10 people that Jack would never meet. That was the secret part of the Society of Extraordinary Independence. He went on to say that each man at the table had 10 other friends that they could call on, that Jack would never know. Jack was starting to understand. They told him that over time he would seek out and find 10 people that he could trust. Jack was never to divulge the identities of the men in this room today to the new group that he started. The idea was not to just call on 10 friends if you were outnumbered or outgunned, but to call on 100 men or 1,000. A little grin started to sneak out of Jack's lips. It was genius. 1,000 men ready to help if you ever desperately needed them, yet they only knew each other 10 by 10. His father pointed out that there was only 9 men in his group. He had saved the last seat for Jack. He went on to say that extraordinary independence was everyone's birthright. He was simply offering Jack a seat at the table. After the meeting, Jack's father drove him home and dropped him off. They agreed to talk some more the next day. He went inside. Macy was sitting at the table, making a list of gifts and cards they had received at the housewarming party. She was planning on sending out personalized thank you cards and didn't want to forget who gave what. Jack kissed her on the cheek and went outside to sit on his favorite bench up on the knoll. Macy called it his throne because he would sit there for hours in deep thought while looking over his kingdom. It was just a piece of slab wood that Jack had fixed to two stumps back when him and his dad were first clearing the building lot. Sitting there, he could see his freedom home that would keep them safe and warm by its own design. He could see the two solar panels that kept his batteries charged, ran a few lights at night, and pumped water up from the well. Jack had dug the well himself, and their water was fantastic. If he had to, he could pump water into his holding tanks with the hand pump. But so far, the solar setup had not faltered. From his throne, Jack could see all the fruit trees that were now producing fruit, and the different nut trees he had planted that had just started to produce a few nuts this year. There were berries and vegetables growing everywhere. Some were perennials and others simply reseeded themselves every year. There was enough food growing here to feed 3 families, and he and Macy had already started dehydrating some of the excess early crops. Their food, water, and shelter were covered, and Jack felt secure about his home and his ability to protect himself and his family. After the meeting with his dad and his secret society buddies, he felt confident in his ability to defend his property and call for backup if he ever needed it. As far as money was concerned, he knew that he would never work for another man for the rest of his life. He had no desperate need for money anyhow, but his father's business was doing well. He ran his father's business at his own chosen pace. He didn't own an alarm clock, so he slept until he was done every day. They only took on new clients when they chose to. Jack also had many entrepreneurial ideas of his own. Most of them he had already written down, and a few already had goals and plans that he was picking away at. Jack was 19 years old. He had a beautiful wife that loved him, waiting for him inside. He smiled thoughtfully. He was thankful and content. He was proud of all his hard work, but at the same time, Jack understood that he had not done anything that anyone else couldn't have done if they were nourished with truth and not burdened with self-limiting lies. Life itself was good. He owed nothing to anybody, and nobody owed anything to him. Everything he needed was provided by his natural environment. His state of mind was that of tranquility, peace, love, and wonder. He knew nothing of fear, anxiety, resentment, or hate. Chapter 19: Gloom and Doom. In the spring of 2020, a new pandemic was announced in China. It didn't take Jack long to recognize the words and phrases of brainwashing. Emotion and repetition are key, and the media was full of nonstop panic. He hoped it would all blow over quickly, but somewhere deep inside, he feared it would not. Jack had studied something called Agenda 21 and also Agenda 2030. Supposedly, they were secret society plans for an incremental global takeover. Their plans called for a global police state with forced vaccinations, 24-hour surveillance, a one-world government structure, and a digital currency controlled by them. Many of the words Jack heard on the news were right out of the Agenda 21 playbook. Oh no, he thought, they're actually doing it. As the lies and psycho-manipulation continued, censorship started to raise its ugly head. Any opinions or science that didn't support the mainstream narrative were immediately silenced. New divisions arose as people started to argue about mask and vaccine mandates. The media fanned the flames with every word they spoke. Jack was afraid that bad people would use division to pass laws that would force Macy and him to get vaccinated. Jack was horrified at the idea. He had never had a vaccine, and he had never been sick a day in his life. He considered his blood chemistry as sacred and would sooner take a bullet than a toxic vaccine. As the pandemic scare continued, Jack started to experience anxiety attacks. Anxiety is when the conscious and subconscious mind can't find an answer and has missing dots or gaps. The imagination kicks in and starts filling in the gaps with what if scenarios. What if scenarios are often negative and sometimes they trigger waves of response hormones. The sensations can be very unpleasant and were something totally new to Jack. He had experienced frustration before when trying to overcome difficult challenges, but never in his life had he ever experienced these waves of anxiety. Jack tried using logic and reason to calm himself down, but nothing seemed to work. The only answer he kept coming back to was that he somehow needed to save the world. Jack was really hoping that someone else would step up, but no one ever did. Whenever someone said anything worth saying, no one listened to them anyhow. He tried to ignore the idea for a while and focus on his own personal goal. But what was the point? Jack believed that humanity itself was in danger and nobody was coming to save them. He knew it was not his responsibility to save everyone else. His responsibility was to himself and now to Macy. Jack only needed to protect his family, but they were all part of the human race, so they needed to save the world in order to save themselves. He started to apply the steps for goal setting to the idea of saving the world. The steps to goal setting had never failed him before, if he believed in the goal and didn't give up. This time, though, he was questioning his own belief. Can a 19-year-old kid possibly save the world? He believed in the goodness of mankind, and he believed that anyone could change their opinions with the right information. He knew that all truth was self-evident, but people would need to seek understanding, because the truth is often buried under hundreds of lies. He would need to unite millions of people who seem to disagree about everything. He finally decided that saving the world could be done, and if no one else was going to do it, it would have to be him. He focused on this one goal alone to the detriment of all his other goals. He obsessed over the idea day and night. He lost sleep and he started to lose weight. Some of his friends thought he was crazy, and one even said it was arrogant to think he could save the entire world himself. Even his beloved Macy got frustrated with him because he always seemed to be so far away, constantly churning ideas and searching for answers. She missed her old Jack and wanted him back. Jack still believed that saving the world was possible, but he was often overwhelmed by the enormity of it all. The final chapter. On Jack's 21st birthday, his parents stopped by with a couple of gifts. His dad gave him his grandfather's belt knife that Jack's father had worn for the past 20 years. Jack always loved that knife, and his dad always wore it. His dad was a farm boy, and on the farm you never know when you'll need to reach for a knife with only one hand. His father also carried a gun on his belt. He used to joke that he never wanted it said that he showed up at a gunfight carrying a knife. His mother handed him a carefully wrapped package about the size of a shirt box. When he opened it, he saw a beautiful leather-bound book. The leather was burgundy colored and had gold letters embossed on the front. The words read, Jack's Education, by Plan and by Purpose. Unbeknownst to Jack, his mother had carefully saved every one of his term papers. She had a company copy them onto this antique-looking paper and then bound into this beautiful book. Jack's mother told him that she was very proud of him, and now that he and Macy were expecting a baby, she thought the book might become a family heirloom of sorts for Jack's children and future grandchildren. After his parents left, Macy went in to have a bubble bath. Jack took his grandfather's knife and the book his mother had given him up on the knoll to his favorite place to sit. He slowly rubbed his hand over the finely textured leather and smiled at the title. At first, he just thumbed through the pages, and each title sent waves of memories over him. It seemed as though each subject that he studied had a time stamp of childhood memories attached to it. He saw pictures in his mind of his age and activities associated with every subject he had studied and written about. He went back to the first page and started carefully reading each one. As he neared the last few pages, Jack started to get excited. The reason that Jack was so confident in the goodness of mankind was because of the information that he had studied during his entire education. Contained in these pages was the reason Jack believed that the world could be saved. If other people could study and learn what he did, maybe they could see the solutions as clearly as Jack. All the lies might be ugly and dark, but the truth was beautiful and bold. Mankind was never meant to be a slave. He was meant to be good and free, strong and independent. He was meant to care for himself, love his family, and help his fellow man whenever he could. Jack had a new plan. If enough people read these words, maybe they could set aside their differences and save the world together. Jack thought about how to get a book printed and figured his mother might have some insight. He would call her first thing in the morning and ask. As per usual, whenever you start hashing out new plans, you inevitably discover new challenges. How would he distribute the book once he had it printed? He needed millions of people to read it, study it, and then teach it to others. No small task, Jack thought. He believed that his essays were informative, but not exactly bestseller material. Not to mention all the censorship he had witnessed in the past 2 years. Even if people liked his essays, they would just get buried and discredited. Jack shuddered. All his parents' hard work picked apart and made fun of. That got him thinking about whether he would be putting himself and Macy in danger. The secret societies of Satan included assassins, and history shows that they were not afraid to use them. As Jack pondered these new ideas, he admired the hand-stitched sheath that his father had made for his grandfather's knife. He rubbed his thumb along the neatly stitched seam. His father was so talented and so independent, Jack thought. He would rather hand-stitch a sheath than buy a new store-bought one. Independent, Jack thought. His father was extremely independent. Holy crap, Jack exclaimed. That was the answer. His dad's group of friends, the Secret Society of Extraordinary Independence. That's how Jack would distribute his book, through the Secret Society, 10 by 10. Jack pulled out his phone and opened the calculator. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 equals 10,000. He got excited and kept going. 10 to the 8th power was 100 million. That was enough people to call a constitutional convention, send all the politicians packing, and restructure the government. Jack kept going. 10 to the 9th power, a billion people. 10 to the 10th power included every human being on planet Earth. Holy crap, Jack thought. If you tell 10 people today and they told 10 people tomorrow, it would only take 8 days to save the country and 10 days to save the entire world. Jack laughed. That would not happen, of course. But even if it took 8 weeks or 8 months, Jack knew that once it got started, it could not be stopped. Another challenge came to mind. Jack could not possibly have that many books printed on his own. I'll worry about that later, he thought. Then it came to him. If he did not copyright his book, then anyone could reproduce it on their own, if they wanted to. That might solve that problem, he thought. Jack's mind was racing. Idea after idea kept popping into his head. It was like all the dots he had struggled with since the pandemic suddenly started to align and make sense. If he did not include his name as the author, that might help protect Macy and him from secret society assassins. Jack was so excited. He was still worried about the future, of course, but now his goal to save the world had a new set of plans to work on. He would get his essays printed into a book and then start distributing the book through the secret society. He understood that some people simply would not read it. He also realized that even if people read it, they might scoff and reject it. But for those who read it, studied it, and focused their minds on it, life would never be the same. His studies had unlocked areas of his mind that made any dream possible and life itself beautiful. This nervous excitement was not new to Jack. It had always been his favorite part of the goal achievement cycle. He couldn't wait to get started. Jack got up from his throne and rushed in to tell Macy all about his exciting new plans. After filling her in with all the details, it was getting kind of late, and they both headed off to bed. Macy must have gone right to sleep, but Jack couldn't clear his mind enough to drift off. He got back out of bed and sat at the kitchen table with a glass of water. He played with his calculator again. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 equals 10,000. It was so simple, yet so powerful. As he thought about the 10 by 10 format, he imagined that it would make a good blueprint for government structure. Not 10 friends that you choose, but 10 families, 10 communities, 10 towns. Jack pecked at his calculator some more. There's that pesky 10 to the 8th power again. Jack figured that only 8 levels of 10 by 10 would take you from the individual American all the way up to choosing congressmen and senators. Even presidents could be chosen by our 10 by 10 representatives. We could eliminate democratic elections altogether and go back to being a republic. Democratic elections have always been a favorite tool of secret societies anyhow. Whichever way you vote is just a different flavor of the same toxic poison. Candidates are chosen by them and promoted by them. If someone steps out of line, they are destroyed by them as well. If government was structured properly, it would be fairly boring, and you would not care who is president anyway. Government should have no authority to affect our lives in any meaningful way. No handouts and no giveaways. No stealing our energy through ridiculous taxes. All government is needed for is to manage a stable currency, keep us out of war, and make a few common sense laws now and then. Man, Jack thought, They suck at everything, don't they? Jack thought about the power of 10 by 10 some more. 10 by 10, they'll tell their friends, he said to himself in a sing-song voice. He grabbed a clean sheet of paper and started writing a poem. This is what he wrote. Not today. 10 by 10, they told their friends, and they told 10 of theirs, of evil men with evil plans and treason everywhere. 10 became 1,000 and 100,000 more. Secretly they organized behind the guarded door. Quietly they multiplied and carefully they trained. 10 above and 10 below, their secrecy remained. The greatest army never known, not seen in any crowd. As they practiced with the family gun, the fathers would be proud. The citizens banned the words they spoke, the mailman hid their code, as tyranny and treachery started to unfold. If evil comes late at night to steal their lives away, 100 million men will stand and cry out, not today. Illness comes and illness goes, as illness has before, but this time poison for the blood is knocking at the door. If they come to hold your neighbor down and force their rights away, 100 million men will stand and cry out, not today. Red and blue, they're done with you, as white and black unite. Hand in hand, the common man will demonstrate his might. Don't tear it down, they'll build it back without the putrid scum. The Constitution holds its ground, and better days will come. They will not civil war at all, and they don't mean to brag. If foreign man steps on this land, he'll go home in a bag. 1,000,000,000,000 rounds of ammo, and the good book as their guide. They won't comply or compromise. They will not run and hide. Evil men are everywhere, the gates of hell ajar. The doctor lies, the patient dies, and suffers near and far. They hope to implement their plans, then sneak and get away, as 100 million men stand up and cry out, not today. So if a neighbor or a friend whispers you a plan to organize just in case we need to make a stand, don't be the one, or let your sons be the kind to say, it couldn't be, it can't be me, I'm sorry, not today. Good luck and good speed, Jack. That is the end of the book titled Good. My name is Scott, and I have been your narrator today. I've never met Jack in person, but I have talked to people that say they have. After this information was revealed to me, I took the time to have Jack's book printed myself. If you would like to own a copy, you can buy it from me for $17.76 plus $2 shipping and handling. There's no real reason to buy the book because I've read it today from cover to cover. The only reason to own a hard copy would be if we had a cyber attack or the internet went down and digital information was lost. If you want to buy 10 books, there is a 10% discount and shipping only costs $10. This book has no author listed and is not copyrighted, per Jack's request. If you have an interest in having Jack's book printed yourself, you can also receive a digital copy on a memory stick for an additional $10. The memory stick includes a copy of this video, a WordPerfect document ready for printing in a 6x9 format, all artwork including the cover slip, a PowerPoint presentation including teleprompter script and over 600 slides. These items can be ordered on the website goodbook.info. If that website is taken down, the book can be ordered old school by mail. Send cash, check, or money order to Good, P.O. Box 144, Greenbush, Maine, 04418. Don't forget to include your return mailing address. We invite anyone to remake this video with better graphics and better narration. Feel free to chop it up and post bits and pieces all over social media. Thank you for watching. Good luck and good speed.